New bombshell evidence has surfaced directly linking the Maryland-based illegal immigrant to yet another disturbing crime. And it doesn't stop there. President Trump delivers a chilling court account from none other than Kilmar Abrego Garcia's own wife, revealing the horrifying details of the abuse that she endured. Meanwhile, New York Attorney General Leticia James is feeling the heat, caught on camera in a moment that some are calling pure panic. Welcome to the Kerri Lane Show. I'm Kerri Lane. First, though, let's start with controversial Judge James Boasberg, who is now back in the spotlight. This is the same judge who previously blocked deportation flights and is now once again clashing with the Trump administration. A new filing by the judge came down Wednesday with an excerpt in his filing that reads, quote, "The court ultimately determines that the government's actions on that day demonstrate a willful disregard for its order, sufficient for the court to conclude that the probable cause exists to find the government in criminal contempt." Now, elsewhere in his filings, it also says that the Justice Department, should it decline to prosecute, could even appoint another attorney to prosecute the contempt case. This feels very personal at this point, if it didn't already. Here's Eric Schmidt from the Senate Judiciary Committee reacting to the judge's latest move.
And I think there needs to be an investigation of how Judge Boasberg got this case in the first place. He wasn't the emergency assignment judge. He took the case at 1 a.m. He may or may not have been tipped off that this case was being filed by an outside party. That needs to be looked at. He was also slapped down by the United States Supreme Court for interfering in core Article II powers, commander-in-chief powers. You can't direct foreign policy of the president from the bench.
Now, the hearing for this contempt case is set for Monday. The Trump team, meanwhile, has asked the federal appeals court to review the judge's order. Now, new this morning, the White House posted this on X. It is a picture of President Trump meeting with Patty Morin, whose daughter, Rachel Morin, was brutally murdered by an illegal alien in her home state of Maryland. The other photo is of Maryland Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen, who decided to take a little trip to El Salvador to meet with the alleged MS-13 gang member, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Now, the White House writes, "We are not the same." Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller reacts.
We've reached a point in American politics where we have one party led by President Donald Trump that fights for Americans, and a second party, I guess led by AOC, that fights for illegal aliens. But not just illegal aliens, criminal, wife-beating, terrorist illegal aliens. 2 immigration judges, as you said, found that he was a member of MS-13, as did the arresting police department here nearby in Prince George's County. On top of that, we have, of course, the protective order filed by his wife, alleging horrific, multiple instances.
There were 2?
Yes, of extreme, violent, physical abuse. And then on top of all of that, he's an illegal alien and a member of what has been designated as a foreign terrorist organization.
The left has been screaming that there's no proof of these allegations. But Karoline Leavitt, she quickly shifted that narrative by presenting a police report written by a gang task force. Watch this.
And when Kilmar Abrego Garcia was originally arrested, he was wearing a sweatshirt with rolls of money covering the ears, mouth, and eyes of presidents on various currency denominations. This is a known MS-13 gang symbol of hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil. Abrego Garcia was also arrested with 2 other well-known members of the vicious MS-13 gang. And 2 separate judges found that Abrego Garcia was a member of MS-13, and that finding has never been disputed.
And here's the police report that Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt is referring to. It also says during the interview, officers observed that he was wearing a Chicago Bulls hat and a hoodie that had the rolls of cash, which Karoline explained the significance of that. But it goes on to say that wearing the Chicago Bulls hat represents that they are a member in good standing with the MS-13. Here's Pam Bondi on the confidential informant this report goes on to reference.
They independently went to a reliable confidential informant who said not only is he a member of MS-13, he gave them the clique, the Westerns, and he was called a Chicao, which is one of the higher-ranking MS-13 members.
And here it is. The latest criminal findings against Garcia is that he was stopped by Tennessee Highway Patrol back in 2022. Now, not only was he driving without a license, he was suspected of human trafficking with 7 people packed inside the vehicle. The police also quickly learned he was on a terrorist watch list. So what did they do? They called Biden's FBI, who, you ready for this? Told police to just release him. Infuriating, right? Why? And if that information isn't damning enough, there's more. Apparently, he is also an abusive husband. Here is the court filing where Garcia's wife claims that he punched, scratched, bruised, and even ripped off her clothing. Today, President Trump, he read to reporters her powerful statement that she made in court. Take a listen to this.
In 2020 and 2021, Garcia's wife filed for a protective order from him and said he was violent and abusive and really scary, including allegations that he punched and scratched her on the eye, left her bleeding after throwing her laptop on the floor at her, ripped her shirt, and ripped off her shorts. He then grabbed her arm, leaving very severe marks. Garcia's wife also wrote in court, "At this point, I am afraid to be close to him. I just don't want to be close. I have multiple photos and videos, how violent he can be, and all of the bruises that he's left on me."
This clearly contradicts how she is choosing to portray him now, which leaves me asking why. She's either sticking with the media's narrative in an effort to raise money on a GoFundMe account, which she's already taken Americans for the ride by the tune of over $200,000, or she's fighting for his return out of fear that he would hurt her again if she didn't attempt to make him look good. Meanwhile, over at CNN, Scott Jennings is pretty much baffled over the Democrats' determination to defend yet another criminal.
I see these pictures tonight and I think, boy, the party of women is really covering itself in glory tonight. I mean, I don't understand why the American left falls in love with the worst people. You've got a gang-banging, human trafficking, wife-beating illegal alien, and a United States senator in a ludicrous display of energy is in El Salvador having Mai Tais and Yahtzee. I do not get it.
The president of El Salvador, he poked fun at Democrats after Senator Chris Van Hollen flew all the way to El Salvador, most likely on taxpayer dollars, in an effort to bring an illegal alien back to the United States. I mean, the left has just been working overtime to make you believe that this prison is just a death camp. So here's what the president wrote, quote, "Kilmar Abrego Garcia, miraculously risen from the death camps and torture, now sipping margaritas with Senator Van Hollen in the tropical paradise of El Salvador." He later took to X again to troll the left, writing, quote, "Now that he's been confirmed healthy, he gets the honor of staying in El Salvador's custody." Well, here's how Senator Van Hollen is portraying his visit. He wrote on X, quote, "I said my main goal of this trip was to meet with Kilmar. Tonight, I had that chance. I have called his wife, Jennifer, to pass along his message of love. I look forward to providing a full update upon my return." So Van Hollen, the senator from Maryland, is willing to fly all the way to El Salvador to seek justice for a criminal who beats his wife. But he does absolutely nothing to help Maryland mom Patty Morin when her daughter Rachel Morin was brutally murdered in his state by another illegal immigrant. Here's the message that Angel Mom has for her senator.
Why are we not protecting the American citizens? It's just common sense. Why are we not protecting our children? And to have a senator from Maryland who didn't even acknowledge or barely acknowledge my daughter and the brutal death that she endured so that he can use my taxpayer money to fly to El Salvador to bring back someone that's not even an American citizen. I don't understand this.
My heart absolutely aches for this woman and all the other angel moms who have been put in this horrific situation, one that probably could have been avoided. Now, something else I found appalling is how CNN and MSNBC both completely ignored the angel mom's desperate plea for Democrats to remove these illegal gang members. In fact, MSNBC, they cut to a commercial break when she came on. CNN, they chose to cover the NBA instead. Also, according to Media Research Center, the trial of Rachel Morin's killer received 0 airtime from legacy media, while they repeatedly reported that a Maryland man was wrongfully deported. This is exactly why Americans no longer trust our media. Now, speaking of trust, New York Attorney General Leticia James could be losing her credibility, even more than I think she already has, after shocking allegations were made by the Trump administration. She is being accused of mortgage fraud. Here is the criminal referral that was sent to the Department of Justice by the Federal Housing Finance Agency. The director, William Pulte, said in a letter to Pam Bondi that James appears to have falsified records to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms. In the letter, it states that in February of 2001, James purchased a 5-family dwelling in Brooklyn, but has consistently misrepresented the same property as only having 4 units in both building permit applications and numerous mortgage documents and applications. Now, Pulte also shows that James purchased another property with her father as a co-signer. But you ready for this? She actually falsely listed the pair as husband and wife. She did it in 1983 and again in 2000. She is also accused of allegedly claiming a Virginia home as her primary residence while she was serving as a New York State prosecutor, which means you are required to have your primary residence in the state of New York. Here's how Leticia James is responding to these allegations.
My mission is clear. I'm focused. I'm prepared. I'm ready. I've been trained by the best. I went to Howard University that overturned legal segregation in this country. I've been taught in those classrooms where Thurgood Marshall once taught. I'm not afraid of no president. Donald Trump, we're ready for you. We're coming for you. We're standing up for you. We're fighting on. We're not going down silent. Victory, my friends, is clear. It's now.
Many on social media are claiming that she looks panicked in that video because of her fast-paced defensive rambling. I can almost guarantee you she is at least sweating a little about this. Now here's law professor Jonathan Turley's reaction to these allegations.
Well, obviously, the irony is perfectly crushing. This is a person who prosecuted Trump for everything short of ripping a label off a mattress. And among the charges that were brought in New York, in not just the civil but the criminal case, was making false or misleading statements to financial institutions. And one of these sections, Section 1014 of the federal code, is prosecuted. It took me about 60 seconds of a search to find cases that the Department of Justice brought against people who falsely claimed that property was their principal residence in order to get loans.
The irony in this case is absolutely crushing because she is allegedly doing the very things that she tried to throw the book at Trump for doing.
That one of the things that Leticia James stressed in her case against Trump is that Trump had to review documents that were filed in his name. And so she dismissed the argument that this was something that Trump's people put together. She said he's ultimately responsible. So they allege that she gave a power of attorney in a couple of these instances. But according to her own standard, that's not enough.
Let's see if her own standards come back to bite her. Because how do you defend this other than maybe trying to claim they're fraudulent documents? You signed them. It's pretty black and white. But maybe this is exactly what needs to happen for the left to realize weaponizing the Justice Department, not a good political strategy. I also wonder how she feels about eating her own words, because here she is in the past regarding President Trump.
It's important that attorneys general representing our respective states stand up and enforce the rule of law. The President of these United States is not above the law.
No matter how rich, powerful, or politically connected you are, everyone must play by the same rules.
Please sue him for us.
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the
Those clips certainly did not age well. And my guess is this will be a big win for the Trump administration. Now, even if she doesn't face the proper consequences that I know many of you hope she will, it will definitely weaken the left's credibility with the American people. Now, coming up next, for more on corrupt Judge Boasberg and how he's conveniently handling his 4th major Trump case, because remember, these are supposed to be handed to the judges at random, you'll want to check out this next video on your screen, because it's wild how the justice system seems to mostly work in favor of one side of the aisle. Go ahead, click on it now, and have a great rest of your day.